Okay, welcome back from wherever you were and from wherever I was. I just talked about Batman 701 and Superman 701, so now I'm going to switch it over to Marvel. Ironic that both the books for DC were numbered 701 and both the books for Marvel are numbered number 2. Okay, so first up, I'm going to talk about a book that's kind of surprising. It is Astonishing Spider-Man and Wolverine, with Wolverine holding a gun. With a nice Adam Kubert cover there, because he handles the interiors. I'll get into that in a second. Anyway, this astonishing line, I guess, is kind of strange, I guess, but it's basically an avenue for kind of these artists to kind of do kind of hands-free tales featuring these characters. There was a book called Astonishing X-Men that was launched by Joss Whedon and John Cassaday, and it was kind of the current Astonishing book, and it was taken over by Warren Ellis with issue 25, who did an arc with Simone Bianchi, which was heavily delayed. And then he came on to the book with then Phil Jimenez, and the book was heavily delayed. We just got issue 34 after a 6-month gap. And in that gap, Marvel announced 2 new Astonishing books. Astonishing X-Men Xenogenesis by Warren Ellis and Carrie Andrews, and Astonishing Spider-Man and Wolverine by the team of Jason Aaron and Adam Kubert. Jason Aaron, of course, is known for his Wolverine work thus far. He's also written some Punisher work, and he kind of just gets around. He's been around at Marvel for a while now, and he does really good stuff. So it was kind of cool to see him take on Spider-Man and Wolverine with Adam Kubert, an artist that I love. I think that Adam Kubert is really, really great. I loved his stuff when he was at DC. I wish he'd done more. I kind of gave him some criticism because a lot of his DC stuff was delayed. But he does really good stuff. I loved him on Ultimate X-Men, X-Men, and even Ultimate Fantastic Four. And then, like I said, his Action Comics run with Superman, with Jeff Johns. So he does really great stuff. It's great to see him on a book on a semi-regular basis. This book's bi-monthly, I assume, to coincide for his teaching schedule. So he does some great work here. He's got inks by Mark Morales again, a really nice cover there. And this story kind of continues the whole Spider-Man and Wolverine are kind of, initially you think it's the past, but it turns out they're now in the far future. And Wolverine is kind of hiding out because he doesn't want people to think anything of him. And Spider-Man is trying to teach these weird Cro-Magnon creatures sort of things. Just trying to teach them science. So in the last issue, Spider-Man found out that the world was essentially going to end. So naturally, he goes to Wolverine, who's joining him on this weird time-lost journey to try to help him with this. And we don't know what the threat is, but Spider-Man's been trying to find something that they could use to help. And he's been very unsuccessful in finding it. So at the end of this issue, they find... I'm not going to spoil it for you because I think it's really, really good and you should check it out. But they find a device that they can use that would potentially turn the tide against the coming threat. And at the end of the book, you are also given the insight into what that incoming threat is. It is very, very bad, very, very tough. So Spider-Man naturally seeks out Wolverine to help him, and Wolverine basically says no. So Spider-Man goes off to try to do it. Spoiler, Wolverine ends up coming to help, as if you didn't see that coming. And Jason Aaron does a really good job with both Wolverine and Spider-Man here. I would check out this book alone for the Adam Kubert artwork. I've suffered through worse stories just to read his art. Or see his art, rather. Not read it. But Jason Aaron does a really good job. He captures Wolverine's voice really well, and he captures Spider-Man's voice really well. There's humor, but it's not over the top like it gets done sometimes. So I think that these guys are a good team, and this is issue 2 of 5, I do believe. 2 of 6, rather. And if these guys did something else together, I wouldn't necessarily have a problem with it. So, Astonishing Spider-Man Wolverine, worth checking out. Especially if you're a fan of either one of those characters and think that their solo books suck. Which they kind of do. Anyway, we're going to wrap up this week, well, at least this set of videos. I may have something else that piques my interest, with something that I am heavily interested in, Thanos Imperative. Thanos Imperative is kind of the next stage in the cosmic area of Marvel. The cosmic section of Marvel got kind of a shot in the arm after Keith Giffen did the Thanos series, which led into the Drax mini-series, which led into Annihilation. Annihilation then in turn led into Annihilation Conquest, which then led to ongoing Nova and Guardians of the Galaxy series, which then led into War of Kings, which led into Realm of Kings, which led into Thanos Imperative. So it's kind of the next logical jump for this, and naturally, as the title implies, Thanos is back. Thanos died in Annihilation by the hand of Drax, and was brought back in Guardians of the Galaxy 24 against his will, apparently. Thanos was very happy being dead, and didn't seem very happy when he was brought back. So now that he's back, he's definitely pissed. So part of the big hook here is that in War of Kings, there was an epic showdown between Black Bolt and Vulcan, which resulted in a tear in the fabric of space-time, the Fault, as it was called. And it turns out if you go into that fault, you lead into an alternate version of our universe that they dubbed the Cancerverse, because it's kind of evil versions of all, like almost demented versions of all these characters. So naturally, Thanos Imperative is all those things starting to come out of the fault to take over our universe, and everybody trying to stop them. You've got Nova. Nova comes in. Galactus ends up coming in with a bunch of avatars to try to help. And the Guardians decide that they're going to take the fight to the fault. So the Guardians go across to the fault and take Thanos with them. Thanos initially is overwhelmed, but then eventually is able to stand on his own. And the thing about the Cancerverse is there's no death. There is no death in the Cancerverse. So when Thanos goes over there, he's initially overwhelmed, it's thought, because he's an avatar of death. So if there's no death, he's overwhelmed and can't handle it. Eventually, he gets his bearings and finds out that he can unleash some stuff when he's there. It turns out that he can bring death to this universe. So Dan Abnett and Andy Lanning are doing a great job with this. Realm of Kings was kind of a misstep, I think. Shaky art and some... the story didn't make a lot of sense. I felt it went on too long. Kind of stopped the Realm of Kings, I think, for being as good as War of Kings, but I think Thanos Imperative is definitely a return to form for these guys. We've got Thanos, the Guardians, and Nova taking center stage. The Silver Surfer shows up in this stage and starts bringing in some cavalry, and they're still getting overwhelmed. We've got Mar-Vell from the Cancerverse is kind of leading the tribes here, and he assumably killed Magus. I don't believe Magus is actually dead. That was issue 1. And at the end of this issue, in response to what we're bringing out, the Cancerverse brings out its own engine of death, as it were. Or engine of destruction, almost. So things start to look really, really bleak. But we've got Dan Abnett and Andy Lanning telling a really, really good story. They've done really, really great work with the cosmic section of Marvel since they've been the forerunners of it. Now, they didn't write Annihilation, but they wrote some tie-ins to Annihilation. And then they wrote Annihilation Conquest. And then they also wrote the ongoing Nova and Guardians of the Galaxy series, as well as War of Kings and Realm of Kings. That was all them. Now, I like Dan Abnett and Andy Lanning. I like them when they did the Legion over at DC, featuring some early Olivier Coipel art before he went to Marvel. And I think they're doing a really good job here. We've got art by Miguel Sepulveda. Sepulveda, my bad. Sorry if I'm butchering that last name, which I might be. He's doing much better work here than he did on Thunderbolts. And he's got really clean lines and some really good coloring, and he's doing a really good job. Very reminiscent of Ron Lim in certain areas, and he's doing a really great job. I mean, I would have preferred to have someone like Paul Pelletier or even Ron Lim himself on something like this, but he's stepping up and doing an admirable job. So you've got great art featuring a really compelling story. So if you're a big fan of Thanos, and you've been waiting for Thanos to come back, Thanos gets unleashed in a big way in this issue, and I'm expecting he will only more so in the future. And also, if you're a Thanos fan, a Thanos fan even, try saying that 10 times fast, this week also saw the release of 2 Marvel Premiere hardcovers featuring Thanos. We have the premiere hardcover of the Infinity Gauntlet and the premiere hardcover of Silver Surfer, The Rise of Thanos, I believe it's called, or Return of the Silver Surfer. No. That's the wrong title. It's Silver Surfer, The Return of Thanos, I believe. Can't remember the exact title, but it's 2 premiere hardcovers, and they're both big Thanos stories. So if you're a big fan of Thanos and kind of want a precursor to the Thanos Imperative here, check those out. And that kind of wraps up this week. Like I said, Astonishing Spiderman, Wolverine, and Thanos Imperative, also both worth checking out. That wraps it up for this week. I will see you guys next time.